No worries, after 2 more minutes.
March,
Okay, all right. We will now call the meeting to order. Was the meeting properly noticed?
yes,
Mr. Chair. No,
What?
no,
What do you mean? No.
no, it's not.
Why?
Item number 9. There is no previewable presentation presented. I move to remove this item, number 9, letter A and B.
We should wait till the approve the
The
agenda.
other agenda.
That has nothing to do with the meeting.
Right. The meeting notice is that when the meeting will be held and the time.
Okay.
Roll call,
Marge Edwards,
present.
Gordon Carlson,
Yes.
Bob Grabowski,
Yes.
Josh Pozdolski.
Yes,
Rick Keith,
Yes,
Terry Harvey,
Yes.
Dr. Richard Long
yes,
is not present, and and she was also absent.
Okay, thank you. And approve the agenda. Yes, Supervisor.
would you like to, were you gonna ask, go, I'll let you go ahead with that.
Okay, do we have a second?
I will second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I do not approve the agenda. Item number 9. There is no previewable presentation included to present or presented, and I move to remove item number 9, A and B.
I don't believe we needed any presentable materials for these, because it'll be presented today. They're not asking for approval on these 2 things. They're just presenting.
The grant vehicle will have a decision for the committee to make. Under 9A.
We shouldn't discuss this until we get a second of his motion. He made a motion to remove 9 A and B,
Okay.
and we're discussing it, but we shouldn't discuss it until we get a second on that. If he doesn't get a second, we'll just go back to approve the agenda.
Okay. You have them down as making a motion to move those 2.
Mhm.
Okay, is there a second? Seeing no second. It is turned down.
I have another.
Okay,
I moved to add a agenda item. And that is. A motion. To. Identify and add next agenda items as they are brought forward throughout this meeting.
For next month or this month?
It's not on this agenda,
Oh,
so it would probably be item number. I see they got 2 item number 9s there, so we gotta correct those 2, but. I imagine we put it at item number 10, but it would, we'd have to correct the items too.
I guess I'm not following what you're asking.
I would like to add. Motion to add. Identify and add next agenda items as they are brought forward throughout this meeting.
For the next meeting,
Yes, I'd like to have on
Okay,
there,
do-
added back to the next agenda item.
do we have a second to that motion?
I have a question on that though. The question would be, is that in the board rules? Because I know it is for the county board. It has sitting on that agenda. I've never seen it been put on a committee agenda. Usually you just ask the chair for those items.
Right. Right.
So I'd like to add that.
Okay,
item.
we've got your motion. asking for a second. There is none. That motion is denied also. That it? For the agenda?
Approve the agenda.
Okay, we'll take a vote. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Is there any more discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I would like to amend the agenda.
We are. No, we just approved it.
You can't change the agenda after it's been
No.
approved.
I tried to change it before it was approved.
I know, and we said, nobody, you never got a second, so it doesn't go forward then.
Yeah, I have another. Item for. Chair,
Mm,
I would like to correct the item numbers.
Okay, we are off that agenda that. We've been a motion made, second and approved.
There's
The
two,
agenda.
there's two items number 9 on your, that need to be corrected, so I need to correct those items, numbers.
We have a second.
Nobody sees those two numbers. in
Yeah.
there.
I'll second that. We can make those items. Will you make in your motion that next meeting would be item 10 then and 11 would be adjourned then, Josh?
Yes.
Okay. Then I would second if that's what your motion is.
Okay,
Okay.
That just turns into a typo.
and correct the typo.
We have a motion and a second to adjust the agenda. Is there any further discussion? All in favor,
Aye.
Aye.
opposed?
No. Who knows? And I don't know about those.
Could I suggest we do a roll call vote on this?
Yes. Okay. Supervisor Pavelski,
Yes.
Supervisor Grabarski,
No.
Supervisor Carlson,
No.
Supervisor Pease,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes.
Citizen members too.
Yep.
Okay, as the citizen members,
Hey, Dr. Long,
Dr. Long,
Yes.
Terry Harvey Beaversdorf,
Yes.
Deb,
passes. It passes
okay,
to make the correction to 10 and 11.
right. Okay. Moving along. Approval of the minutes.
This will move.
We have a second.
No, I'm not saying.
Yes, I second.
Any discussion? Supervisor Pavelski,
Item number 8. 2. Letter D. I am not able to open or review this report and object to the presentation, as there is no presentation.
What are we talking about?
What you
today's
talking
agenda.
about?
Are we talking about today's agenda or we're talking about last year's?
He's looking at the minutes. He's saying there was no presentation about the CWHP Comprehensive Community Services Regional Coordinating Committee, which was a verbal update that I gave regarding that committee that reports, that is a subcommittee of this. committee.
But not on this agenda,
It was on that agenda last month.
but not on this one,
It was in the minutes for last.
right? I'm not approving it because I'm not seeing it in this agenda.
It would not be on the
Would not
agenda
be on
because we
this.
didn't have a meeting in February, and January. So the minutes reflect that in January. There's not, it wouldn't be in this.
there anything else?
No, it's just-
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes, the January 9th meeting. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
No.
minutes are approved. Public participation,
None.
correspondence.
We did receive correspondence that Deb Johnson Shu, who's been a citizen member and representing the nursing role on our committee for several years, has decided to step down from the committee. So we will be in the search for replacing the nurse role on this committee.
Well, Deb, thank you very much for all your years and you will be missed.
She missed her age, no.
Yeah, I know it. Okay. Report of departments. Veteran Services,
Hello, Marge, it's Rick. Can you hear me?
sir.
How you doing? All right, for the month of January, we met with 61 veterans, clients. We did about 270 phone calls, and faxes, 325 electronic transactions. 5 outreach appointments we went to. Then on the 27th, I went to the CVS quarterly meeting down in Sauk County. Met with a VA rep and also Ron Johnson's representative for veterans. The 21st, Scott went to the mental health CAT team. The 31st, we both attended the National CVSO and VA visual suicide prevention training. It lasted about an hour and a half. And then on the 26th, I completed a WDVA grant and Cynthia approved it and I faxed it up to WDVA, and that's for the $11,000 grant and they received it. So hopefully we'll be getting that one, and plus I think it's a $15,000 grant for the COVID relief. That's also in the works for that. And any questions for me on what we did for January?
What will this $11,000 grant be for? to cover?
That's broken down into gas cards, food vouchers, any needy veteran in need goes into that account. And also that's part of the assistant CVSO salary for the year. So whatever's left over, that rolls into Scott's payroll.
Okay, anybody else have any questions?
Are we on number 8?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Veteran Service Report.
Okay, I just had a question.
Go ahead.
Are there any changes or modifications to these reports since the last reports? A and
Yeah,
B?
we every month, Scott and I, we sit down, we track all phone calls, we track all every activity that goes on in that office. And that's rolled up into this report, and that's what I report to the county board.
Can you tell me of any, changes that were made on the report from this one to the other?
Yeah, we met with 61 veterans. And I believe last month we met with, I think like 40 veterans. And the phone calls and the fax numbers change. And that's about average what we usually do a month.
Were there any other changes?
Just the meetings that we attend and the outreaches that we do. And I can't report names on this report.
So there were no other changes from this report to the last report?
Yeah, everything was changed. Numbers are changed. Everything is changed on this report from last month.
Can you tell me these other significant changes, please?
Like what?
I'll go into that a little bit. I can't really see these.
I guess, what are you looking for?
Any major changes?
These are major changes for us.
All these items here from.
Yeah,
one-
we track everything in the office, sir.
Okay,
And we got reports all the way back from I started in 2014, December.
are there
So-
any differences?
What's that?
Are there any differences in the topics or any changes to the
No.
topic?
Nope, this is basically what is conducted in the office on a daily basis.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you, Rick.
You're welcome, Marge. Is there, want to go over the funding or? It's basically no changes to that.
Can we go back to that, please?
For what?
The funding,
Financials?
yes,
Okay,
Right now. Right.
yeah, that's what we're on.
okay, can we take a look at that, please? You pull
Yep.
that up, please.
Takes a minute, Josh.
I think my budget this year is 169,000, I believe.
Now, can we scroll through this a little bit for me?
Yep,
please?
go ahead.
Ruth, please. Can you
Where do you
scroll
wanna
through
go?
the,
You wanna go further?
yeah, I'd just like to kind of go through this. Page,
There's only
page,
2 pages.
page two.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just wanted to see, take another look at that. Thank you for that.
Mhm. Yeah, we're about 1% of the county's budget.
Okay, anyone else have any questions? Thank you, Rick.
All right, Marge, thank you. Thank you, County Board.
Department report,
I'm gonna ask Wendy if she wants to give a quick financial update on our report.
Not really. We just were busy closing out fiscal year 2022, and we are watching for our final revenues to start flowing through.
Can we
Are there
scroll
any-
through-
what,
Mr. Chair. Can we scroll through these
What line are you
Where do you
looking
want
at?
it?
Line do you wanna look at?
page? Can we just start paging through these?
There's 36
well, which
pages.
pages specifically do
Actually,
you
can
want?
we just, let's start going from the first page to the next page, second.
Just start scrolling down.
Yeah, just please scroll through slowly. Like the page to these, please.
Is there a certain spot you want to get to, Josh?
I'd just like you to keep scrolling until we get there, please.
Well, do you want revenues or the expenses?
Do you know what page it is, Josh?
Let's just keep looking at these until we come to it, please.
Sure.
We're almost to the end.
I think there's 36 pages.
Yeah.
Correct.
All right. So my question here today. Does anybody have any questions on this?
I've already asked the question.
Does anybody else have any questions on this report? So nobody has any questions on all these items. Everybody understands all this report has no questions on it. I'm the only one that has questions on this. It's kind of, it's alarming that nobody has questions on this but me, on all these items. I'm the only one that doesn't
What
understand.
is your question?
Nobody has any questions on
We've
it?
already asked that. It's been answered.
When I have a question, I call Kelly. And Kelly answers that question for me, and I'm happy with that answer. I'm happy with the answer.
You read these and you understand this whole report. You have no questions on this report.
I do not have any questions on this, but I would answer that to the chairperson, not you.
Interesting that there's never any questions brought up. Or asked about numbers that honestly, to decipher, we'd almost have to have some kind of economic, I mean, who can decipher this? I really,
It sounds like you've got a problem reading our financial report.
well,
So
understanding it all. I mean,
These are the same reports that we get for everything.
I just have questions about some of that, and I'm just surprised nobody has questions about it.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
Madam Chair, may I suggest that if there are questions about financial reports, that you reach out to Kyle Patterson, who is our finance director, and he can explain these reports if, again, so that's a resource available to this committee and the entire board. Thank you.
Come on,
Thank
so
you.
I'm the only one that's questioning.
moving on. Is there anything else on the financial reports?
So what item was that? Can you tell me? For,
2A,
okay,
8, 2A,
right.
8. Okay. I only have one question. Wendy, do you have any idea on when these back payments will hit the books?
I think they should start rolling in. We're at the mercy of some of the grant programs like Dane County and the income maintenance. I'm not sure what the delay is there. And our third-party billing, that should be rolling in pretty quick here. It's just some of the grants, the state is so far behind, which leads me to believe why Dane County is behind. It's because the state is as well.
Okay,
A lot of times it's been March before we've seen the final.
right.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Director's report,
The narrative is attached. Are there any questions in the narrative?
go ahead, Supervisor.
Sure.
Kowalski.
Questions, Kelly? Kelly, let's see, it's under B here. There's positions I saw. Scroll.
Right there.
Yeah, see the behavioral health therapist, social worker, legal caseworker on hold. Can you tell us why? Please?
Well, we just filled one of our therapist positions, so we were onboarding them. We'll be preparing to post the next therapist position.
Okay.
The social worker position we've had on hold. Our numbers are a little low right now in Kyle Walker. So we're seeing if this is an anomaly, COVID really slowed down some of our cases from what we normally had. So we're waiting to see if that's gonna increase or not, and, if we need to fill that position. Legal case manager, we will be posting. We had that, when we had combined the adult protective services position with the 2 legal case manager positions, remember this is a couple, probably this 6 months ago. Remember this?
Yeah,
There were 3 positions. We were gonna try to see what it looked like with 2 positions. So that one that's on hold was that extra position to see if we can do it with 2, if we need to have 3.
can you tell me, any idea how long this will be on hold?
I'm assuming that that position will not be, I think we're gonna need to fill that legal case manager position.
Okay. Now this- Are there any changes, modifications, or additional items reported in this report that weren't reported in the last dated report?
So,
Reports?
sure, so-
A, B, C, D?
what we try to do with with the narrative in particular, what we try to do. Is we try to put new information in every month. So all of the managers are trying to update this committee in particular on different programs that we run. And then Wendy tries to tie back a financial, like how it connects to finances, so you have a better understanding of what our finances look like. So we try to do that every month. These reports are different every month, so we can provide you with different information, so you can have a better understanding of our operations or something.
Were there, I guess, any items that were reported differently or any additional items or,
The whole report is completely different every month.
but I mean, as far as the structure of each. Because you have, let's see, so you have your aging and disability resource.
Yeah.
So these items are all, they're,
They change every month. The titles, the headings are the divisions that are within Health and Human Services. So each division will be highlighting a different program every month. So you have a better understanding of the services and resources we provide here at Health and Human Services.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, can you scroll a little bit for me there?
Where would you like to go?
Let's see. Go back a little bit for me, I just want to make sure that I'm not skipping over my list. Okay. So you could scroll down, if you could scroll the other way, I think it's the other way.
What are you looking for?
Chair, I have a question why they scroll. Practical sense, I see up 15 family care trainees
Okay,
and, you were talking about young adults and how they could get in the workforce, but your trainees, you said are mostly over 55. So I would consider those young adults. So are we gonna be able to get some young adults in this program then,
I think-
or?
I think to Sherry's point that that's kind of
Okay.
our
I was writing
frustrating.
at the same time.
Some of the changes that have happened with workforce development is harder
Would
for
be helpful if you know where. you wanted to
younger
go.
people to get into supported
there's no
employment.
numbers.
No, they're by
So if we
divisions.
don't have the numbers in the area, then we.
It's a separate
CCS
report.
and having compliance through CCS or different programs. Because she does rely on.
That's the end of the
trainees.
report.
They are, they are providing skilled work.
Somewhere it's in there.
Okay,
I'm
Thank you.
looking For. Where's that chart? There's a chart in here somewhere, isn't there?
That's towards the, scroll down, other way.
Yeah, you gotta go, you gotta.
You're looking at our numbers.
Oh,
There.
Okay, is this one you're looking for?
Okay.
this one or the other one?
Yeah.
So we have behavioral health statistics or the number.
Yeah, just if you could scroll a little more, so we can bring them in full view, please.
What number, what line are you looking at? in particular?
Can we get that whole thing in view there? I can't. really
Well,
see. There it is,
I'm
okay,
trying to.
there it is, okay, thank you. All right. Nellie, can you tell me what AODA is?
Alcohol and other drug addiction.
Okay. So. What did the participants participate in?
Are you looking at the AODA group?
Yeah.
We
it's-
did not have group, that it says group closed
Yeah,
at the bottom, so we did not offer group last year.
okay,
We'll be restarting our group in March,
okay.
and the majority of the participants are gonna start from treatment court. For our group,
Where did they work on it? Where is it based?
our AODA group,
Yeah,
it will be here.
okay, in this facility, okay.
Yep.
And did you tell why it was closed? You would close it seasonally then, is that all?
Our number of group participants was really low.
Okay,
And then with COVID, it really compounded their group participation and our numbers were low, so it's closed. Now we have hired another, actually, all of our therapists are working on their AODA certification also. So we have additional staff who can help do the group. We want to run a group of 2 people, preferably a male and female.
now, if there's low numbers like that, you'd say. I'm assuming there's at least 1, 2, or.
Ideally, we would like to have 5
mhm.
plus.
So what happens if there's just those numbers, like those couple of, that might have been, if they still get treatment or?
Yes, then they would do individual.
Okay,
Or if the recovery center offers group, we would work with the recovery center and be able to provide group.
okay, okay,
And then there's also AA, NA, and a variety of other groups that individuals can attend.
okay. And then I have. Going back to the report by Adam Short, there's a. Okay, so I'm just looking at these statistics, these numbers. My question, is Adam available here, or can you help me with this, Kelly?
Is Adam on right now? He might be dealing with a consumer issue right now.
Okay.
That's the best I can.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, this is all crisis related. How many, where are the suicides?
That would fall within this crisis calls.
Okay, so there were no.
We don't report on deaths.
There were no suicides?
I'm not reporting on deaths, and this narrative does not include deaths.
Where would I find that, Kelly?
I believe we could work with public health and the medical examiner's office to provide that data.
Okay, I'd like to know.
Would you
Future
like that
reference, how many suicides and then how many attempted suicides there were last year?
I don't think we can do attempted suicides. We could do, if there's a hospitalization, that most likely is the closest thing that you're gonna get an attempt. Would be the psychiatric hospitalization between voluntary and involuntary. And those would most likely be, thoughts, suicidal ideation. Some of them may have been individuals who attempted. That's where that data would be, is in your voluntary. and involuntary.
How could we decipher that a little more? I mean, when you get a call like that. How do you tell the difference with that high of an escalation that somebody's gonna, in a danger of committing suicide and. Another individual that might not be so much, how do you decipher that difference in a phone call crisis like that?
That is similar to that conversation that we had last month with the
Mhm.
crisis, when we had a crisis presentation, when they talked about the assessment. I
Mhm.
think Lauren highlighted the different categories, the different questions, the different information that Northwest Connection would be gathering. Or if we had a mobile crisis response, what our mobile crisis workers would be gathering. And depending on the severity or the information that's being presented, it would determine whether it was the best interest to safety plan with the individual, or if a voluntary or involuntary hospitalization needed to happen based on that assessment.
Okay.
I
I
think
guess it just wasn't, it's just not clear to me. How many attempted or possible attempted suicides there may have been.
we can gather that information and have Adam put the suicide death information in here. One of the things we are very careful about is how much information goes with that, because if there's very
Of course.
few people, we try to keep it pretty limited to protect the families.
Thank you for that, I appreciate that.
Well, I probably should know better than to jump in here, but a couple of things. One is medical examiner has a report. And it spells out what people have passed away from, and if it's suicide, natural, or whatever, that's available. And the other thing is, when we're talking about attempted suicide and so forth, I'm not sure, in my opinion, that's not something that the county board needs to be involved in. That's
But-
more of a personal matter.
Well, these are statistics here, and it's regarding these statistics, and I think it should be included with these statistics.
I think that they've given the world of trouble there when you get too much information to a clientele that may or may not keep it confidential. So I don't know, Josh, but
Well,
to me,
yeah.
I don't think that.
They have the numbers on what they do for, to treat all these different situations. I think that the people that are not successfully, or something happens, they should still be considered as part of this.
It would also be important to note that sometimes when a suicide is completed, it could happen with individuals who never had access to our services, never reached out for help or support, or given any indication that that could happen.
How can we prevent that from happening?
We want, well, what we want is to continue to give information to the community, and we want to make sure that mental health isn't stigmatized. We want people to feel talk about mental health. We want people to get support. We want it to be easy for people to get help. I know Jess, I don't want to throw you in, but I know as Jess is working on her doctorate, part of her research project is how do you get information to people who've never accessed this sort of program before? How do we get to those people? How do we inform them and educate them about resources? How do we prevent something terrible from happening? Especially people who don't reach out for help.
Now, if somebody does reach out for help and they are suicidal, what facility or resources are the facility here that
We've gone over that
is
prior
safe?
meetings, Josh. We've gone over that prior meetings.
I
Other
would
than,
be happy to go through all of the resources.
yeah,
We would be
well,
very happy to do that. We have several resources that we rely on.
but a facility,
A facility here, we would use Gunderson.
but from there, when they go there, there's no actually place there for them to hold them, so where do they go from there?
It depends. It depends
I mean,
on availability.
what if there's not availability? What
Then they go
happens?
to Winnebago. If they're being easy,
For how long would they go to Winnebago?
depends on what Winnebago says. Depends on their evaluation, their determination.
What if they're denied? What if they,
They can't be denied at Winnebago if they're under an emergency detention statute.
There is always a bed. There has never not been a bed. It's state law for there to be a bed. In the event that someone is suicidal and it's an emergency detention, we have never not found a bed. Ever. And nor has any of our local partner counties, facilities.
Voluntary hospitalizations are different. Those are the ones that are more challenging to find a bed for.
So that's, I suppose, so we were talking about involuntary. Now, if somebody comes in there voluntarily, they're suicidal. What happens if they don't have a bed?
Depending on the nature of the circumstances. If the voluntary is agreed upon, that's the nature that is usually best for the person to go voluntarily. If it meets a criteria and there is not a bed, but it meets a criteria for an emergency detention, then it will be converted to an involuntary detention.
But if there's not a bed available,
Then it has to go to Winnebago. If there's not a bed available under a voluntary, but the person meets the criteria for an emergency detention, Winnebago cannot say no. Does not matter what their census is, they are required.
can you tell me about some of those criteria that need to be met? Just kind of give those a little more.
That's the same criteria that we went through
That
last month
involuntary,
for the involuntary, yes.
It is.
Yes.
Because I know there's differences between the voluntary, as you're
Oh,
saying,
yeah.
voluntary.
And I would be
I just
happy,
want to be sure that we're able to find beds for everybody, involuntary, voluntary. It's important that obviously that these people get somewhere where they're safe. And we can all agree on that, I'm sure.
We do agree with that.
Okay, any other questions on the manager's report? Moving on to the project status report.
I tried to add a couple other things that we're working on this year. Our projects are probably look a little different than other projects that are tangible. Obviously, our first priority is purchasing those fleet vehicles. That's been a goal for a couple of years. Another goal that we continue to work on is our CCS, our Comprehensive Community Services service array. We want to continue to build that service internally as opposed to contracting. One of our challenges right now is staffing. We're having an incredibly hard time recruiting bachelor level staff to do some of that case management. CCS in particular is a very paper intensive program. There are many, many benefits to it, but it is certainly hard to recruit staff for that position. We're continuing to work with our motivational interviewing practices. We're going to continue to offer some support and training throughout the year. That is part of our trauma informed care project that we've talked about for a number of years. Yes.
Under behavioral health statistics, I see the children's report, but I was not able to see a report for adult service.
Are you talking about these numbers?
Yeah. No, can you show us that, please?
We don't typically report our adult protective services numbers. I don't think we have, I can't see that yet. What would you be looking for in adult protective services? Like guardianships,
there's gotta be
referral.
adults that have these issues, and I'm just wondering what the numbers are.
We can work on getting an APS table together.
Why isn't that available now, Kelly?
I could probably run a report on the system, but that would not on the agenda. A numbers that.
Well, it's just when you have the children's, I'm just wondering why we wouldn't just have the adults under automatically. It seems appropriate that that would be the case.
We can certainly add APS to the behavioral health numbers. That's something the board wants.
Isn't there adult protective services right up?
Those are calls for adult protective services.
Access,
That there were 6 adult protective services that came in through access. last
Oh,
month.
okay,
Yep.
all right. Thank you.
Going back to the project status report. We're working on continuing our paperless and increasing electronic efficiencies. We are getting ready to deploy text messaging reminders for clinic appointments, which is pretty exciting. We drafted policy and forms so that people can consent to receiving a text message about their appointment. A lot of people communicate better through text, so we're excited to be able to offer that soon. Children and Family Services is working to implement the Family First Preservation Services Act, which is a federal act. It is having an impact. It is having an impact on their practices, and they are staying in compliance with that. We've added another goal of the Aging Disability Resource Center of Adams, Green Lake, and Sheriff, working on the realignment project. This is something that we used to be a consortium of four counties, and we've changed to 3 counties, and we're having a little bit of a realignment to clarify roles, purposes, responsibilities, and to just get back into that shared service model mentality. That's going to take a lot of work over the next 6 to 12 months. Donna's shaking her head because she knows it's going to take some work. But this is part of our agreement as 3 counties to continue to work together as opposed to separating the consortium. And then we're gonna continue to look at our telework practices, make sure that they're making sense. And that we're supporting staff and programming and the community when we do telework.
Any questions on the project status report? Okay, moving on. Report of committee members.
Donna, can you give a quick update on the Aging Advisory Committee?
Yes, we met in January, I think it was the 15th, and we discussed the senior farmers market nutrition program, which is now coming to Adams, which we're excited about. We're just waiting to get our vouchers. And that will provide some vouchers to seniors to go to the farmers market to get fresh produce. And then we talked about the Aging Advocacy Day, which will be in person at the Capitol this year on May 9th. Anybody who wishes to participate can register online at the GWAR's website, or they can call me and I can assist with that. We also are having our senior fair May 17th at the community center this year. We're very excited about that. We already have over 30 vendors signed up, so really looking forward to that this year. The next is our AARP tax program was initiated this year. It's after being closed for 2 years. We are doing Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's free tax services to individuals, simple taxes. We started February 7th. We will end April 6th. So we're encouraging people to call and get signed up because appointments are filling up fast. And then we talked about the proposed acquisitions of managed care organizations and how that might affect our aging programs. Our next meeting date is March 15th, 2023 at 1 p.m. Marge, do you have anything else that we can add?
No,
No,
good job. Any questions of Donna?
Okay, and then Diane, can you give a quick update on the Coordinated Services Advisory Committee?
Sure. The last meeting was held on January 10th at 11 o'clock a.m. in the Richard Holt Room. There were updates given by the school district, community members, community providers, and our agency. The biggest highlights being the school staff discussed referrals and the lack of follow through by parents on securing services for their children, and that students aren't utilizing the transportation offered by the school and our agency to either get to appointments here for therapy or to see Jess Stevens in psychiatry. We went on to next was Jess Stevens gave a presentation on the Adams County psychiatry. She presented the mental health statistics and reviewed her and her team's roles within the county in providing services. We ended the meeting giving statistics for our programs in CST, CCS, and CLTS. The meeting was adjourned and the next meeting is April 11th, 2023 at 11 a.m.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Di,
Yeah.
when the very first thing about the kids not getting here, was there a solution to that or just work harder to get those kids here or how is that?
Well, I think what they were trying to explain is that the students haven't asked, even though the school and our staff are available for that transportation. But the other thing, if the kids can't get over here, the therapists from our agency have been going over to the school, and then the school finds a room for them to meet. So that was basically the resolution. Our staff are pretty available to run over to the school if there's scheduling difficulties.
Thank you.
Sure. Question for Diane. Was there any major or concerns that were brought forward at all in coordinated services committee meeting, last meeting? That we should be aware of?
Just, unfortunately, there were concerns, but due to the fact that those concerns weren't on the agenda, we couldn't really cite them in our minutes.
How could we have brought those onto the agenda, just like breach of reference there, Diane? How could we?
We can include them in, the next meeting's agenda, Josh.
Agenda items match the purpose of that meeting. So if there were specific concerns that you thought should be on that agenda, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, a lot of it relates to a lot of the stuff that we covered. It's the subcommittee, so I would think that they would be brought automatically, but
It's pretty specific what the purpose of the Coordinated Services Advisory Committee is responsible for. It's specific to the programs. So if you have some concerns, if you want to either call me or call Diane, we'll see if they fit into being able to be an agenda item for that particular meeting.
okay, how can we inform the public on how they can view this meeting, this prior meeting, so they can be brought up to date with any of the items? Is there a way that the public can view the Coordinated Services Advisory Committee?
The meeting,
Yeah,
that was not one of the meetings that currently is scheduled to be recorded.
but there's archives, I imagine, that people, the public can go back into. How do we do that, Kelly? Can you tell us how the public would find that and how we could view that piece?
I got distracted by the packages. County clerk's office, all minutes and agendas are kept at the county clerk's office.
So what website, I mean, just to say, pretend that I know nothing, and I'm somebody in public that is trying to find this.
Go to the county clerk's office.
But what, if they're on the internet, if they're at home, how would they search and find this meeting? So they could view
The
it.
agenda is in the
but it's
It's
still-
in the county calendar, it's more than minutes.
Right, but they don't see.
They can go through the calendar.
Okay, I'll write this down. Okay, just the county calendar.
It has all the agendas on it.
And I believe that there is also an archive on the website.
Yeah, so if they go on the county calendar,
How about I show you after the meeting?
well, that's just, no, I prefer no, please, so, then they click on, they go on to, how would they find coordinated services in the county calendar? Where is that? I mean, because the average person doesn't know how to do this, I'll be honest with you. I've tried to tell people and they have no idea. I tell them again, and they still can't find it. So it's not very easy to find, obviously, Kelly, so I'm just trying to make it more clear for the public to find these.
I think you can take that discussion away from this meeting,
Do you want me to answer real quick?
if you can, real quick.
So you go to the county's website
Okay. No.
and then you know where you see the calendar.
Mhm.
On the left-hand side, there's a tab that says agendas and minutes. You click on agendas and minutes.
Mhm.
That then takes you to menu basically, and you would click on Coordinated Services Advisory,
Mhm.
the folder, and then in it you will see 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, 22, and 23.
What was the date of this meeting here, so they just are clear?
They can look up whatever dates come
What
out.
was the date of it?
January.
January 10th.
Okay,
So the minutes will be approved at the next meeting in, I can't remember. That's when those minutes will be approved. for the meeting.
okay, all right, well, that helps a lot, appreciate that,
Okay.
thank you.
Anything else on these reports? Okay, we'll move on to the next item. Did you want to introduce these new staff people? For what?
We will introduce
Okay.
Nikki and Hannah. Hannah's only been with us for a week, so welcome Hannah. Thank you. But if we're ready to start 9A, we're gonna talk about the grant vehicle. The 5310 cycle 45 grant vehicle cost increase. Ruth, can you make that a little bit larger?
Yep.
And I would invite Donna to come and share some information also. Donna has put this slide together. Do you want to orientate people to this slide?
This is the inventory that we have currently of the vehicles that we're using. And it starts with the oldest vehicles moving to the newest vehicles. And if you see, you can see the miles that are currently on it as of the end of December, so. And then the type of vehicles we have, the years, the description, and the in-service dates when we started using these vehicles. We acquired the acquired cost, which is what it cost. That was a full cost, not just, it was award and local match. And then we had the grant cycles in which we obtained those vehicles in. When you do your applications, it's called a cycle. So every application is a cycle. It's a 1 or 2 year cycle. So they call them cycles instead of date. They don't give them dates. So that's what we look at as cycles. And then the useful life end date is dates that are calculated through the state. We use this process, and that's what the dates are calculated at, the estimated time that they will no longer be and should be in use for safety reasons. And then the useful life of mileage remaining, that's what they estimate the amount of mileage is left on it as well to be for safety standards. And then we look at our replacement plan and which cycle we'll be doing our application and to replace those vehicles. We usually don't obtain new vehicles, we obtain replacement vehicles.
So Donna put together this slide so you could be orientated to the grant vehicles that we currently have. It's clear that we have a vehicle, the Braun Caravan, that is over its suggested useful life on mileage. And then one of the reasons we brought that forward is because the Cycle 45 grant application that we had, we were looking to replace this particular vehicle with the Cycle 45 grant. Ruth, can you go to the first slide? Or actually the second.
Next slide. Yeah.
So Donna applied for this grant back in 2021. The vehicle at that time was slated to cost $51,197. It has now increased cost to $76,575. And so that is a new increase of $25,000. So with that, we as a county have already contributed our match that was determined in 21. That match was $10,239. We've talked about this, I think, a couple of times at this committee meeting, that the vehicle cost increased. We weren't sure what the committee would want us to do. It's clear we need the new vehicle. But the county now has an increased cost of $20,000, $339. This state did chip in an extra $4,000, which was which was nice. I mean, $4,000 is still $4,000. So what we're asking today is that the committee will approve us continuing to move forward with the purchase of this grant vehicle. The $20,339 can be covered by our enhanced funding through income maintenance. That is funding that we get at the end of the year, that we typically do not have much for expense to, because we don't know what we're going to get. This year we received information from Dane County that we would be receiving $27,180. So that could cover this portion of what we still owe for the vehicle, if the county is okay with that.
Second.
We have a motion to approve in a second.
Can I answer a question? Do we have a possible delivery date if we actually do go along with this?
They have it, they have it.
They actually have it.
Yes, and the differences in the vans are a side loading and a rear loading, and because this is a side loading, we'll get it faster. So we're excited about that, so. That was a question we did ask when we said. Yeah.
Because it could go up another 10,000.
That's right.
Donna, I got a quick question. Does any of these vehicles help out with the Meals on Wheels and medical transport for people?
They are primarily for medical rides. So the bariatric vans, of course, we're using for wheelchair bound people, which we have quite a few. And then the buses are used to transport our individuals to work and daycare. So those are considered medical rides as well, employment rides, so.
Is that Teresa? That's the question.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
So we already have all these vehicles in place now. I mean, currently,
Currently,
so how old are the current vehicles? How many miles are on them? What?
if you go to the first, yeah, if you went to the first slide, you'd see that.
Yeah.
And once we replace the vehicles, we have to get permission through the state to do something with those vehicles, so.
But is there a trade-in or what's the, how does?
Yeah, there's no trade-in value, but we ask permission for the state to do something with it, so occasionally we can use those for something else. But it's all approved through the state.
Well, what will happen with them then when you get these new vehicles, the old ones, I guess is what I.
It can go up to sheriff's auction, it can be returned to the state, there's different options that we can have.
Where does that money go?
There's usually no money that is exchanged, it's usually a small amount, the vehicles usually aren't worth much, yeah,
Yeah.
so.
So it's just, could it be considered donation? And could we
Not
get
a
number of
donation,
donations?
there's a replacement cost up to so much.
What
It's
is-
all,
what-
it's all
what-
based
Do you know
on,
the approximate value of?
like the Braun van, the
Yeah,
2011 that we have to, it'll be valued at no more than $500.
really?
Cause we use it till it's out of its safety zone, we use it until it's no longer.
How many
Able
miles
to
are,
use-
did the stated mileage on there?
108,000 as of the end of December.
108,
Yeah.
Mhm.
it's just broke in to me. Dude, I drive.
But we have to follow the public safety standards
Oh,
that
sure,
the DOT
sure.
puts out, and since we're using it for public, there's a lot different rules for just. Rather than you and I driving our vehicles, it's a lot different when we're
What-
transferring
What
people.
would be some of those stipulations that would cause a vehicle not to be, able to be used anymore?
Well, I'm not a certified mechanic, so the certified mechanic would be able to tell you those stipulations, but it comes down to, wear and tear, the rusting out, they rust out really easily. The brakes, the tires, there's a whole bunch of things that we have to look at.
Well,
for
certain
the
things
safety
can be
inspectors.
maintained, you can replace tires, you can replace
Mhm.
maintenance, so
And they
aside
are
from
well,
that,
yeah,
what,
these
what,
vehicles are well. It's the state's determination, because it is a grant vehicle, we have to follow what they require us to do. If we're gonna get rid of one, the state tells Donna what can be done and how it needs to be done.
what
So
does the state tell you? Why do they give you reasons? I'm just.
Because they own, this is part of their, the vehicles are technically theirs, they're grant funded, so.
They must have reasons on why you can't use these vehicles anymore, some kind of guidelines, I guess I'm asking.
I can find the
guidelines.
guidelines for public safety for using.
Well, yeah,
public
but these
vehicles.
individual vehicles, I think you should know what guidelines are rendering these no
The
longer
state
usable.
determines it.
But what are they, what does the state determine?
What difference does it make?
Well, I'm curious because maybe.
They can contact the state and find out.
But they have their,
Should we have,
they have their agendas and criteria. We have to follow them in our.
but I just like
That's
to
it.
know what those are, because we're approving new vehicles and I want to know why we can't.
Well, we're not approving the old yet.
But-
That's going away.
Well,
Supervisor Hughes,
I noticed the second ban, useful life is
Mhm,
a year old now.
mhm.
But that doesn't put it in the same category as cycle 45, the
Right.
cycle 47. So in maybe 2 more cycles, that's gonna be out of cycle then
So-
also.
Our replacement is cycle 45, cycle 40, we've applied for 45 and 47.
Okay,
So we're actually waiting for our cycle 47 vehicle as well. But that's already been taken care of through our 8521 grant. So hopefully I won't be coming back for that cycle, but who knows? But cycle 45 and cycle 47, we've already applied for and been approved for.
okay, thank you.
We have a motion and a second to approve purchase of this bid. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye. Supervisor Kozlowski here.
Okay, public health. Megan, there's the overview.
So Cody's gonna give a presentation with his staff. Cody, do you want to introduce your staff?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So we have our brand new community health specialist, Hannah, with us here tonight, and then we have Nikki, our other community health specialist. It's not a presentation, it's an overview of one of our programs. I know tonight we talked a little bit about stigma and resources regarding mental health and suicide prevention. So I'm super excited to have Nikki talk us a little bit about man therapy and the resources that it provides for our community. As many as you know, mental health and suicide prevention is really huge here in Adams County, and public health is working hard to promote that, get the resources out and the education. So I'm excited. We've almost implemented this program for almost a year now. I believe it'll be a year in April. So I'm going to have Nikki dive into just the surface level of the man therapy
You have to leave it open.
and the resources and things that are impacting our community with that. So Nikki, please go ahead and present that.
So I'm gonna pass this around, and I'm also happy that I'm here today because this kind of talks about the resources that we have and how we get the word out there about what resources we have in the county. So we're talking about man therapy today. Man therapy is a campaign that is targeted at working age men, and it uses humor to cut through stigma surrounding mental health. It reshapes the conversation using different around to tackle issues about depression, divorce, and suicidal thoughts. So the reason that we implemented this program is because males are 4.5 times more likely to die by suicide than females in Wisconsin. And then in Adams County, 78% of males, 78% of the suicides were males from 2016 to 2020, and that has continued to show since 2020 as well, that men are three of the 4 deaths by suicide. So in March of 2022, we got a license agreement with Grit Digital, which is a marketing company that creates all the stuff for man therapy. So it was research published that a CDC funded trial, and this is becoming a evidence-based program. So it's not that it's working just in Adams County, it's working throughout the entire nation. We work with mostly people in Michigan because Michigan has a statewide approach for it. So they have man therapy in the entire state. Adams County is actually the only county that has man therapy now, but the state has contacted me, Prevent Suicide Wisconsin has contacted me to talk about expanding it outside of Adams County because they like it. So in April 2022, we convened a work group that represented, or it had representation from law enforcement, fire departments, Gunderson, ACEC, and the school district. And this work group came up with a work plan on how we're going to disseminate man therapy to men in the county. So we looked at recreational spots like bait shops and golf courses, bars and restaurants. And then we came up with a very long list of local events like fisheries, of Sportsman Night Out that has been in Adams County for a long time. And then different fundraisers. So we also set up Google AdWords so that when you are in Adams County and you Google, why am I depressed, or why am I feeling sad, or different keywords, that man therapy comes to the top. And why that's special is because if somebody is clicking on it, it sends you to our local resources. So that's what some of our funds do, is they connect you to Helping Human Services, 988-211, Recovery Center, and other places that people can go for mental health concerns. So we have provided man therapy merchandise like posters, we have magnet calendars, all different types of merchandise, and we brought them to over 60 places in Adams County and at over 30 events in the community, like these fisheries, Gunderson Parade of Trees. And then a big hit was the Charlie Behrens show at the Adams Friendship High School. Charlie Behrens is better known as the Manitowoc Minute. He's a funny guy on the internet. And he came to Adams and we sold out of tickets for both shows, not we, the community sold out of tickets. And Charlie Grimes actually mentioned man therapy in it and kind of did a promo with our merchandise. So that got out there that Adams County had man therapy. So we've also boosted social media man therapy posts to men in a 45-mile radius of Adams Friendship. And we've reached over 12,100 people with our social media campaigns. Some of them are videos, other ones are just stagnant posts. And we can pull other metrics as far as how many people clicked into it, how many people clicked through the, it's a 20-point head inspection, they call it, to go through and decide, like, it'll help you figure out what your needs are, like if you are depressed, if you should go to the doctor, if you should call 911 right now, or if you should be sent to the local resources. I brought a few posters with me with the different populations. So we have Not All Problems Are Catch and Release. We have this in a metal version at a bunch of county boat launches in Adams. This one is a pit grilling animal meat aromatherapy the way a man would do it. And then to get our veterans population, MREs aren't the only things that can make you feel like crap. So we try to target different populations in the county.
Questions?
Sure. Thank you for the presentation. I'm curious now. If there's an adult man having a crisis, say they're, for example, they're suicidal. Do we have a facility here in Adams County where we can have them in a safe place to protect them from themselves if they are suicidal, so we ensure that suicide does not happen? Is there a place where we can watch them 24/7, you know?
I think that was previously discussed, but this specific resource on our agenda for man therapy with that 20-point inspection is a survey to kind of help, whether they're gonna go to reach out for help or if this survey is gonna get them to a doctor, kind of to reach out for those resources.
So, yeah, they need to get help. So what happens from here? I'm just trying to see how this program works.
It would help, it would share information with them then that they're in a point where they can call law enforcement 911. So if someone is actively suicidal, no matter where they are, 911, and they will get law enforcement will respond, they'll activate the emergency crisis system.
So what happens when that's activated? Can you tell us more, Kelly? Is there
Just like
somebody that,
last month.
but is there somebody that coincides with the law enforcement? And these calls, the social workers or psychiatrists, who's all involved with that?
So law enforcement would respond and then they would activate Northwest Connection, their call center. And then depending on the situation, if we needed to activate mobile crisis, then our bachelor level, master level staff are going to respond with mobile crisis. They would also be presenting in the ER with doctors and nurses, and that's all part of the.
Okay, so where do they go from there then? Is this is the same
Yep.
basis?
Yep, this is how it goes into our crisis system.
But there's nowhere in Adams County for them to go. They have to go to Winnebago, or
They would go to a psychiatric.
there's nothing
facility.
here, in Adams County that they can,
They would go to the emergency room here,
right,
Yeah.
but they don't hold them very long, obviously, right? I mean,
medical clearance.
yeah, so I mean that, but after that's done, there's nowhere for them to go from here. Or in Adams County, they have to. So I
That's
just-
been asked and answered numerous times tonight.
Well, this is a
in
different,
other meetings.
this is a different.
So what Nikki is getting at is this is really a resource. This is to help get information out. What else?
It's a
Prevention.
Yeah, it's a first step to like, men aren't gonna go to therapy, or the stigma is that men aren't gonna go to therapy. They're not gonna talk to their loved one. They don't talk as openly as females do. And that's why
Why is that? I wonder?
More stress.
You mentioned 21,000, is that since you started the program, 21,000 hits on your website?
12,000.
12,000.
Yeah,
So Adams County only has 20,000 in it.
Yep.
And that's within a 45
mile.
mile. Do you know how many those hits are coming right from Adams County or?
So it's only people in Adams County see it, so I can go on our social media and I can say, I want all men over the age of blah, I have it set for 50. To see this in a 45-mile radius, and supposed to, it's.
Will
pretty a lot.
it also tell you somebody hit that more than once?
Yes, I can go down to engagements, whether somebody clicked on it, if somebody has looked at it for more than 2 seconds, I can break it down that way. There's all different ways. If there's something called the through play, and that's if somebody watched the entire video.
We talked about earlier about getting to know those people that aren't in contact with us. Do we then contact that person because now they had sort of an interaction with us, or do we leave it alone because they didn't necessarily reach out to us?
I think we could probably do some tracking in the future on like, where did you hear about Health and Human Services, and maybe if they heard about man therapy that way. But as far as disclosing, identifying information about the person clicking through man therapy, I don't get that information, and neither does.
That's
just 'cause it's
what
confidential. Yeah,
But this is a way to get to those people that,
are not reaching out to the different resources that we have in the county.
And part of that resource will, might connect them to see a doctor, to reach out to a therapist too, so which is kind of, letting that person acknowledge, hey, maybe I do have something going on where I could reach out, so. Good.
okay, thank you.
Supervisor Carlson, go ahead.
I know we've had this talk at our Javelin League meetings for Adams County.
Yeah.
And a lot of those posters have been taken out by tavern owners,
Awesome.
and I've seen several of them that are up.
That's
So
been a
it's
big-
getting out.
Yeah, good, thank you.
What's our target age? What age are you targeting? What's the most common age where we see these issues with men?
So statewide since 2016, it's been over 50 years old.
Over 50?
That has changed in the last, since 2020.
Okay,
And that would be a question mark for the medical examiner. I can get a script of how many people, what age they are and their means. But
And due to that age group is specifically why man therapy targets that, 50-ish older age group. With
The working.
folks.
we don't really have an idea of why it's trending more to younger men. Does anybody have any idea why that trend is taking place or happening?
I mean, I think a lot has changed over the last couple of years with COVID, so that may be a contributing factor. People are trying to get into the workforce, and where they're seeing problems trying to get into the workforce. I would say that younger people may be less resilient than those that are older because they have been through certain circumstances several times in their lives, and maybe these younger people don't have the skill sets. That's a complete assumption.
I think it'd be fair to say though that COVID, all the regulations and everything that occurred with that caused a lot of mental illness.
It did. Yes.
So, I think, we should, really look at. Yeah, like you're saying there, treating especially the young people that are possibly more susceptible to those issues, they had to wear masks, people, they lose their identity when they have to wear those masks, you can't see their person's smile. When you're out in public, everybody's the same, and I think that really had an impact on people. When they were forced to wear masks like that, not so much in this county, but I think. I still see it, the masking wasn't quite as tight. In Adams County here by any means as it was further south, it seemed that was a bigger thing.
Okay, is there anything else now to? Do you want to ask them?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Supervisor Kowarski.
Just some of the things that you pointed out, it scares the hell out of me, quite honestly. The fact is that I can click on something just for information or twice or look at it over 2 seconds or 5 minutes or whatever it is, and somebody's gonna know about it. They're gonna try and follow up if that's, some sort of an avenue. And I just don't know how much, again, it scares the hell out of me, but beyond that, I don't know what else these departments can do to track potential suicides and someone that would could harm themselves. We've said it before, every family seems to have some sort of track record somewhere. And the fact is that in our system, they either have to be a threat to themselves or someone else in order before they can get some of the help they need. And Josh had made that plain. Unfortunately, we don't change the system in this room or in this county or anywhere else. It's one of those things that it has to play out. And unfortunately, the results aren't always good. But appreciate the information. I just was surprised when you brought up some of that stuff.
I think I'm concerned that we don't have a facility here in Adams County.
Supervisor Cruz.
Have you ever read, I know reading the state journal, agriculture suicides are way up.
Mhm.
How do we reach out in Adams County? Do you ever give this presentation to like the antique farmers or
Here,
what?
leave us alone.
Or maybe go to the FFA alumni meeting one night to say, this is something that, or do you not reach out with this?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We actually have versions for farmers and they have been, one of them, I can't remember the exact words. Something about grabbing the bull by its horns and it had a bull on it. We're not bull farmers around here, but we have horses, we have cows. Are we bull farmers?
Right there.
But we have these versions for farmers. With all different resources that we posted on our social media as well. In the past, it has had to be pre-me. I know we have worked with our migrant farmers to give them the resources that are like on the back of there, not in that version, not in the man therapy version, but we have had them in brochures and all of our mental health resources sent to the migrant farmers.
Thank you.
This, I want to point out, this type of program, I'm saying like this. This is so very important to the prevention of the suicides, right? Like this is where we need and truly do work every day to focus our energy. Not only do we want to help the person that is already struggling, right? Like that's obvious, but this kind of stuff is where, you know, our dollars and things like that need to go as a community, as a taxpayer, all of that stuff, so that we are preventing that suicide to begin with. It's why we focus so much on young people and why we're trying to bolster our kid numbers in psychiatry so that we're catching these kiddos and these people long before they've ever had a thought in their mind about harming themselves or someone else. I want to help them when they're feeling sad and down, not when they're trying to commit suicide. So that's why these types of programs are so crucially important.
Excuse me. Have you worked with the VA, local VA, VFW?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have stuff with Scott has stuff in
Okay.
his offices. They have our resources, yes.
Yeah. Okay,
Mr.
go ahead.
Nikki, if we had a facility here in Adams County, to make it easier for people, family, friends to come and visit them or still maintain contact, do you think this would be beneficial for that person in treatment to have somebody, familiarity and familiar people having that closer availability to come and visit them, for example?
Would men therapy help in that case, are you saying?
Well, a facility here in Adams County, we're, kind of where this is all, but would it be beneficial to that patient if their family was closer? Making it more
I think
accessible.
there's a question that Nikki can't answer because Nikki's working on the prevention of your public health.
How about Kelly, can you answer that, please?
A facility, I guess, if you were looking at a facility, I'd have to see what the hospital thought. I mean,
Well, I'm-
that's something that they're interested in, or they could staff, I think that's.
But would it be beneficial to the patient if their family and friends were closer to have access to visit them, for example, say. It's Winnebago's a long ways away, so. Would it be beneficial for them, for the patient, if they were closer to their friends and family?
I think if
to
we
visit?
had a magic wand, we would want everything, right? I think in the regional model, that makes a lot of sense. What we really need to do here for us here with this agency, our focus is on bolstering our community supports. So that when people are here, that they are best served here. Because that's what's best for them.
I think it's fair to say that it would be less traumatic for the patient, is that right?
No,
I don't think it's that.
But it would be less traumatic for that person. If there was a facility.
Not always, not always.
Sometimes there's a lot of contact with.
Yeah.
And it's way in a little bit on this from the standpoint, first of all, in today's world, driving distance doesn't seem to be a major issue. It can be in certain circumstances. But as an answer to you, Josh, on that, when you look at the amount of assisted living and lack of a better term, old folks homes and so forth, where people have close relatives close by and they never get a visit from them. I don't think where it is located makes a lot of difference. Honestly, because there's a lot of similarities where people get in these rest homes and they never don't see their family. It's more.
It's changed a little bit though, Bob. I mean, price of fuel, it costs a lot more to travel now than it did 2 years ago.
Okay, that's enough. We're off topic.
Not really.
Thank you very much, ladies, for your
Thank you.
presentation. Okay, our next meeting,
Oh, I have one more
March 13th.
question before we close.
Okay.
Why do we not have add next agenda items on this agenda?
Because
Identify
there is
and add
something,
Next agenda.
if
items.
there is something you want to add into the agenda or any of the other supervisors, you can contact either Kelly or myself.
It's usually on the agenda, though. Why is it not on presented in this agenda?
No, it's not.
No,
I
Tony,
Any other committee agendas? It's on. I've seen it.
Some, but
Why isn't it on this one? They're not getting an answer. Why is it?
you can take your question, you can take your suggestions to either Kelly or myself.
Question. It's a
Okay.
question.
Next meeting is March 13th. There being no other business, we are adjourned.
Good to be here.
Thank you, everybody.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
And